Hello, beautiful people. This is Freedom Fighter. Thank you for tuning into our channel, Goldilocks Global Banking News. Everybody knows that Goldilocks is the number one source for the RVGCR. People from around the world tune in to see what Goldilocks is sharing on the RVGCR. Don't miss your chance and get your latest updates every day. So like, share, and subscribe to this channel to get your daily podcast from the Goldilocks articles on the RVGCR. Brought to you by Freedom Fighter. Hello, beautiful people. This is Freedom Fighter, and today is Friday. Happy Friday. It is August the 30th, 2024. I'm your host of Goldilocks Global Banking News, the world's number one source for facts on the RVGCR, shown by articles and proof from the actual government sources, financial and technical sources. Over 100 countries from around the world, including Iraq, Vietnam, and other major countries, are subscribed to this channel. Folks, today in my morning discussions with Goldilocks, the information that is coming out specifically on October the 1st, what is going to happen, an effective date, October the 1st, is the beginning stages of the gold standard with big banks. The beginning stages of the gold standard, specifically with large banks. There's a link that is in the description that will show it to you, but listen to what I'm about to share with you. The Federal Reserve Board announces final individual capital requirements for all large banks effective October the 1st, 2024. This is something that many were waiting for and hearing about. The mysterious Basel III compliance for capital requirements for banks in order to be in a position to protect the banks from failing by having enough capital, enough money and money in reserves and assets. So, earlier this year, the U.S. banks underwent several stress tests to determine the amount of capital requirements that would be required to be compliant under the Basel III regime. The large banks have been required to fulfill these guidelines, Goldilocks is sharing. Yes, gold is included in the Basel III bank capital requirements as a Tier 1 asset. Goldilocks shares that the Basel III Accord, implemented in 2019, requires banks to hold a significant portion of their capital in high-quality assets, including gold. Ladies and gentlemen, Iraq is already Basel III compliant, just so that you are aware. Iraq, for example, they rank the 29th in the world in gold reserves, and just announced recently on the capital requirements that they have, the capital and reserves that they have achieved, major reserve capital for the first time in their history. Now also, Basel III capital requirements are Tier 1 capital, which is the most basic tier and measures a financial institution's strength. It includes equity and common stock. It includes gold, allocated gold. It's considered to be a Tier 1 asset and has zero risk weighting. Unallocated gold, which is considered a Tier 3 asset and is subject to the required stable funding measures, a ratio of 85%. It also requires purpose. The Basel III reforms were designed to enhance banking stability and reduce the likelihood of defaults during economic downturns. So this is the protection, folks. The protection mechanism for banks, for the capital, for to have enough gold to protect itself and enough assets to protect itself in the event of an economic crash. In an earlier article about a month ago, Goldilocks says, we talked about gold becoming a high quality asset. On October the 1st, ladies and gentlemen, this means that our large banks will be holding gold as reserves and considered a high quality asset. Furthermore, listen to this. Furthermore, it means that these banks will be capable of utilizing gold as sound money. In other words, our large banks will be subject to utilizing hard currencies such as gold as money. A gold standard is a financial system where the value of a country's currency is fixed in relation to a specific amount of gold or linked to the currency of a country that does. We have been given the Tier 1 guidelines that our large banks will be using, and they are as follows. The minimum requirement, which is the same for each bank, and it's 4.5%. Also, the stress capital buffer requirement, which is based in part on the stress test results that happened earlier this year, that's at least 2.5%. And if applicable, a capital surcharge for the largest and most complex banks, which is updated in the first quarter of each year to account for the overall system risk of each of these banks. Folks, pay attention to this. These new guidelines will allow us to become competitive with other countries in trades such as the BRICS. It is our big banks that work with our markets the most, and these new protocols will allow them to meet new standards being applied in global trade. As these new banking guidelines go into effect on October the 1st, ladies and gentlemen, our banking system will be learning these new guidelines to fulfill the new obligations being between themselves and their clients, which is us. From that point forward, Goldilocks says, we will have a new form of liquidity, new form of cash flow in our banks that will enable us to adapt to the coming changes taking place in our global economy. We see the culminating of the pieces around the world in the banking system coming together with the backing of gold in the large financial institutions. We are at the beginning stages of a gold standard beginning to take shape officially on October the 1st. The implementation of Basel III is going to cause several changes in the gold market, Goldilocks shares. One of the major transitions with Basel III is the reclassification of gold. The reclassification of gold. This is a leveling up of gold from a tier 3 asset to a tier 1 asset. You see how this is taking shape, folks? This will reclassify gold as money. And our money in America and other countries such as Iraq that do the same under Basel III requirements. Again, this will reclassify gold as money, and our money in America and other countries around the world like Iraq that will do the same under these Basel III requirements. There's no coincidence that Iraq reclassified the dinar several months ago. Goldilocks shared that proof. There's no coincidence that they actually registered the dinar as a security with the Securities and Exchange Commission, along with all the other currencies, folks, that have reclassified as well under the umbrella of the Securities and Exchange Commission, because these currencies are assets and they're securities registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission. Now we have the reclassification of gold. First, we had the reclassification of currency. Now, the reclassification of gold as sound money. Goldilocks continues. This means that our banking system will have a 0% risk weighting that is similar to cash and government bonds. This is a process. This is a process that does not happen overnight. And countries around the world will begin transitioning to the largest economy in America as a result. As with any new change in the banking system, there is a period of time for credit valuation adjustments to be made. What are credit valuation adjustments, you ask? They are the adjustments of the values on assets. In other words, the revaluation of assets. The good news is, Goldilocks says, we are approaching the starting line. We are approaching the starting line. As far as our new digital economy, which is the QFS, inside the banking system, everything is being tokenized with gold and other commodities, such as silver, such as copper, such as agricultural products, wheat, corn, and so forth and so on. A new classification for our tokenized assets will be the first movers inside the new economy. The new values, when Goldilocks says the new values, think of the new values on paper currencies, the new values on digital currencies and precious metals such as gold. The new values that will begin to show up on our digital asset-based trading system, which is the QFS, it will create a massive adoption going forward with the institutional investors, this is big money players, and Ripple leading the way. Why? Because Ripple is the network that will move our digital assets, our digital currencies through the banking systems around the world. And the central banks, of course, are connected to our paper currencies. It is Ripple that will move gold through the network and through the banking system, gold backing our currencies such as the USD, gold backing our currencies such as the dinar, such as the dong, such as the bolivar, and every other currency around the world. Gold begins this process. A September to remember is coming, Goldilocks says. You will notice changes next month, meaning September. I'm not calling a paper RV, Goldilocks says, but I am aware that many birth pangs will begin. And folks, the beginning stages of the gold standard with large banks starts on October the 1st. 2024. Prepare yourselves accordingly. Stay grounded, stay in love, and stay in unconditional love. Be well. Hello, beautiful people. This is Freedom Fighter. Thank you for tuning into our channel, Goldilocks Global Banking News. Everybody knows that Goldilocks is the #1 source for the RVGCR. People from around the world tune in to see what Goldilocks is sharing on the RVGCR. Don't miss your chance to get your latest updates every day. So like, share, and subscribe to this channel to get your daily podcast from the Goldilocks articles on the RVGCR. Brought to you by Freedom Fighter.